Hello and welcome into Up and In. Thank you for joining us this Sunday evening, and I am Black Elmore as always, and with me my co-host Chris Hackney. Hack, how are you doing on this beautiful Sunday evening?
I'm good. Nice weather out here on the East Coast, so nice day. Been a crazy week in baseball, some big injuries, some surprising teams staying hot. We got a lot to talk about this week.
No, we absolutely do. You're right about that. And one thing that's kind of really funny to me is I saw the news about Bryce Harper supposedly wearing jerseys from last season. A lot of players were really upset. There was a Seattle Mariners pitcher, actually, Blake Miller, who had to wear the ball boy's pants when he pitched yesterday in order to actually get through the game because his pants didn't fit him right. I mean, what's up with these jerseys? Is MLB going to get this right, or is this something that we're going to see all season long?
I think we're stuck with it for the season, and it's something they'll probably address in the offseason. I was scrolling through social media, and I saw a photo, and it was from a Mets game. And it was the dad wearing an Alonso jersey from 2 years ago compared to the jersey today. And one looks significantly better than the other one. One looks like a knockoff of a real major league jersey. So hopefully they fix it, but I don't know. We'll see. We will see.
Yeah, I mean, well, I've had two clips this week of guys sliding into home plate, ripping their pants open. I mean, the materials are clearly not what the players are used to. Like I said, Bryce Harper wearing jersey from last season. I think it's pretty funny. I think we're going to start to see more player protests as the season goes on. But I digress. We have a lot to cover in this episode, just like Hack had said earlier in the episode. First up, we're going to jump into the standings, kind of take a quick little look at what's going on around the league from the AL East to the NL side. And the AL East is where we're going to start. We got the New York Yankees still leading the pack in the AL East, going 12-3, only losing one game this week. The standings mixed up quite a bit. Boston was 2, dropping all the way to 4, and every team in the AL East is at 500 or better. Hack, is this the strongest division in baseball right now?
Yes, I believe it is. And I think the tone is set at the top. The Yankees came into the season with a lot of question marks. I know I had a bunch about their pitching staff, whether their offense would stay healthy, and how some of their key players would hit. They responded to every question. We have Anthony Volpe batting .353 with 2 home runs and 7 RBIs for a second-year shortstop. They weren't expecting this jump, and we're 15 games in. So at some point, we're still in the hot start, but at some point we passed the hot start as he matured into a major league player that lived up to the hype.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. The Yankees have won 5 series to open up the season, something that does not happen very often. Like I said, everyone in this division is playing over 500. Volpe is playing out of his mind. Judge has yet to really fully get started. Juan Carlos Stanton is still a strikeout menace. As soon as he comes to the plate, if you got the betting app up, you better bet that he's going to strike out because you're going to win most likely on that bet. But like I said, somehow the Yankees are putting it together, finding ways to win, doing it on the road and at home. Baltimore, obviously sitting in that second place spot, had a little bit of a skid here recently, but still kind of hanging in that second place spot. Obviously, Jackson Holliday getting brought up. Do you think that's a huge jump start for that team?
I think it helps. I think it adds more attention to a team that was already getting a lot of media attention, but now you add to it even more with Jackson Holliday. He has superstar media coverage. We have yet to see if he's going to put up the superstar stats, but his media coverage at this young age it's incredible. I think this was something to be expected from Baltimore, only because they are young. So it's hard for a young team. They're not surprising people like last year. They're now circled on the people's calendars as we don't want these young kids to make a name at our expense. It gets harder being the hunted, not the hunter. So all those cliches, but I think Baltimore's built a nice young nucleus, and they're maturing towards the playoffs. the regular season. They're still in second place and within striking distance of the Red Hot Yankees.
You're definitely right about that. We're going to keep it moving on to the hot AL Central. At least they were hot when we went over them last week. Let's see if those teams are still as hot as they were. Obviously, we had the Detroit Tigers falling off a bit since losing their first game, falling all the way to third place at 9-6. Kansas City, though, what's up? Talk to me about Kansas City. They've been absolutely red hot. How many wins do they have? Was it 8 now?
Yes, and I'm going to save Kansas City for later in the show. I'm actually going to go on the complete reverse side. The Chicago White Sox. I don't think anybody had them quite pegged as the worst team in baseball. We thought Oakland would be worse. The Angels would be worse. Even the Rockies. Maybe the Nationals, Miami. But Chicago they're giving their fans nothing to cheer about. Their team batting average is 198 as a team. That's under the Mendoza line. And their leading hitter with qualifying at-bats is Andrew Vaughn at 180. It's sad for what is a team that has a proud tradition and a pretty solid fan base.
Yeah, well, they're definitely going to be begging, pretty much giving tickets away this season to get people to come to these games because you're absolutely right. Not to mention the weather's been absolutely terribly cold this season for the fans, but they're absolutely starting off to a 2-12 start, or only scoring 2 runs per game. The best player in the outfield with Luis Roberts Jr. is out right now with an injury. Not much to be hopeful about for Chicago White Sox fans. Detroit, I still think that they're kind of hanging in there. That's what I kind of want to talk about. They're 4-6 over their last 10 since starting off the season 5-0. Their offense has really started to kind of stutter. They're also, like I said, their team batting average is 198 as well. Not doing well this season since they started off so hot. But their bullpen is what's giving these games away. So they really need to find some way to shore up that back end. They said they're going to start letting their starting pitchers go further into games to kind of alleviate the stress on the bullpen. So we'll see kind of how that works out for them. Like I said, over the last 10 games, 4-6. Not great for the Detroit fans who had very high hopes starting the season off. Here we go. Cottrell saying that he'd go to the White Sox game if they pay my way. Yes, that's true. Cottrell, you know what? Never know, man. We'll pump you up, make you a celebrity in the podcast community, and we'll get you to throw out the first pitch at White Sox game just for you, buddy. And we're going to jump over to the AL West. So we're not going to take too much time on these standings. Like I said, lots of news to go over in other facets. But Hack, when you look at the standings in the AL West, lots kind of – it looks like the AL West was one of like the hotter starting divisions. Since then, things have kind of evened out. As an update, Oakland actually won today, putting them at 7-9. Seattle losing, putting Oakland in third place and only a game out of that top spot in the AL West. What are you thinking going on? You love the A's right now. What are you thinking about this AL West standings?
I think a surprising play out of Oakland, especially given what was going on with the stadium and everything. So that's a kudos to that young team for pulling out wins and playing hard to start out the season. I'm more belief that my pick in the preseason, the Houston Astros, to get to the World Series on this side, I'm pretty happy where they're sitting right now. They have played a really bad baseball to start the season. The pitching has been good in certain games, but when it's been bad, it's been awful. This week, they had a little help from Angel Hernandez in a great game for officiating. That was, if you saw that was entertaining. But Houston, with as bad as they're played, are only 3.5 back, and I think this whole division has underperformed short of the stars of the division. Houston, Seattle, Texas, they have underperformed, while Oakland and LA have overperformed tremendously.
Yeah, I mean, it also doesn't hurt that Mike Trout is starting off to looking like healthy Mike Trout. Starting off to absolutely hot start. Tied for second in the league in home runs this season. Really kind of leading the way for the Angels, who are surprisingly still kind of like hanging around that top spot. I know we're early in the season, but a lot of us expect the Angels to kind of be like where the White Sox are now, kind of a 2 or 3 win team 2 weeks into the season. And then, of course, you got, Oakland, who's sitting at 7-9 now. I think one really surprising fact about Oakland is their team ERA is under 4. sitting at 3.71 this season. A lot of strong pitching from Blackburn and Sears. I mean, holding really good teams to 1 run, 2 runs, 3 runs in the first 6 or 7 innings, and the bullpen is not giving up. As soon as they get into the game, I think they've only blown 1 or 2 saves this season, which for Oakland by this time they would be at like 4 or 5. Like I said, you're an A's fan. Do you think this is kind of just like an early season spark to try to maybe get the fans kind of back into it, or do you think these A's are going to kind of be sticking around for a little bit?
I think it's an early season spark. I do think they have good young players that play the game hard, play the game, again, like cliche, the right way. They are fun to watch at times, but there's a lot of talent in this division. And I think baseball is a funny game that when you start, for all the bad starts, everything averages out. So as bad as some of these teams start, I believe the hot streak for Oakland, Seattle, and Texas is around the corner. And when that happens, Oakland and the Angels just don't have enough offensive firepower for when these teams hit midsummer and the ball is traveling a little bit better. The hitters have adjusted to pitching a little bit better. But it's fun to watch this good start. Like, kudos to them for having a good start because nobody even thought the fans would get this.
No, you're right. And before we move on from the AL West, you're mentioning the A's hot start, the Angels hot start. I want to talk a little bit about the Astros. Though they just did take 2 of 3 from the Rangers, scoring 8 runs a game in that series, they did just get swept by the Kansas City Royals. Even though as hot as that team is, they got outscored in that series 28-8. The offense for the Astros is absolutely non-existent right now. Besides Blanco, the pitching is absolutely atrocious. The stars of the Houston Astros need to kind of step up and lead this team to success. I know that you want to talk a little bit about some success that one of the Houston Astros is having here in a little bit, but I'm hoping that the Houston Astros offense kind of turn it around. Hopefully the series against the Rangers, which was a really fun series to watch as a baseball fan. Like I said, over 12 runs a game. A lot of offense, a lot of heated discussions between the teams. I was hoping for maybe a little bench clearing action, but of course we didn't get any of that last night. Excuse me. But so this division will be fun to watch, especially this early in the season. Houston getting off to such a bad start. Nobody's really trying to run away with this division. So watch Houston. They are hanging around. So if they can put a couple good series together, they'll be right back in the mix. Normally right now we would kind of jump over and do our 7th inning stretch. But like I said, a lot of stuff to talk about there. So we're just going to keep on going through and power through the standings here and jump on over to the NL side. We're going to first talk about the NL East. Where Atlanta is still leading the way with a 9-5 record. Philadelphia hot on the tails. Everyone else kind of still sub 500, trying to find their way. Hack, who stands out to you the most for the NL East this week?
So a little bit about the Phillies. I think the Phillies have had they've had woes on both sides of the ball, but they're still 8-8. Unfortunately for Atlanta, they took a major loss with Strider this week. The news on him. So I think right now for the Phillies, a surprise is Brandon Marsh. He's batting .318 with 4 home runs and 9 RBIs. And nobody was really expecting that. And Spencer Turnbull wasn't supposed to be in our opening day rotation. An injury to Taijuan Walker gave him a spot, and he's really stepped up. He has a 1.8 ERA, which is you can't ask for much more out of your 5th starter. So that's a team that I think, as cold as they've been at certain spots in their lineup, treading water for them, and I'm happy. I wasn't expecting a hot start, so 500's good.
You are right. 500 is a good start. Like I said, the Phillies, they tend to start off a little slow. Right after the All-Star break, they tend to kick it into high gear and pass everybody up and go like 750 win percentage the rest of the way. So I know you're not too worried. What about the bottom 3 out of New York, Washington, and Miami? Who of those 3 do you think are going to turn it around the fastest? I like the way that the Nationals are playing lately. Obviously, the loss of Josiah Gray with an elbow injury is a huge loss for them, someone that I'm a huge fan of. Who, as a former pitcher myself, I really like the way he pitches and his style. He's out for a while. You think that really hurts them, or do you think New York has kind of finally found their stride? Are they here to stay? Now that they've Actually took 2 from Atlanta, actually putting up some runs across the board. The offense is starting to go.
I think it's New York by default, just because Miami's not going to spend the money. They've been hit hard with injuries, and the injuries that they've been dealt, the only way to fill those holes would be to go out and get a guy. And that's just not the Miami Marlin way of baseball, unfortunately for them and their fan base. Washington, I think, is in the same position. I believe it'll be more interesting this offseason to see what they do with the Strasburg money. Now that he has officially retired, they can clear their books. We'll see if they're in the competitive business or if they're just happy to get the collective bargaining money. But we know the Mets at least are willing to spend money. They're forced to spend money. They're already second fiddle in their city, no matter what. They're second fiddle to the Yankees. So the only way for them to stay relevant, compete, and appease their loud fan base is to spend the money to compete.
Can't argue with any of that. We're gonna keep it rolling here. Oh yeah, quick question though. I know we're gonna talk about the Strider injury here in a little bit, but with that loss of Spencer Strider for the Braves, do you think that obviously how much do you think that helps the Phillies kind of get into that top NL East king seat? How do you think that helps them?
I mean, if we're basing it off of what we've seen so far, I don't think it helps them that much because, unfortunately, Sanchez has been bad this season, and the Braves have been okay throughout the lineup. The Phillies have not been okay throughout their pick rotation. So even with a major loss like Strider, I think the Braves offense can mitigate that. It hurts the Braves more in the postseason when you go down to a 3-man rotation, and now you have Fried, Sale, and question mark. But looking into my crystal ball, Atlanta's going to make a move at the trade deadline. So I think teams that we see now that are hit the worry button in 4 months, we're going to be like, oh, wow, look at that move. That was okay.
You know who I would love to see go to Atlanta? I would love to see Blackburn out of Oakland. I'd like to see him get out of Oakland and get to a contender because he's pitching lights out this year. 0 earned runs through 3 games, if I'm not mistaken here. I would love to see him go to a contender like Atlanta. Just throwing that out there, putting it into the universe. But anything else you want to say before we move on to the Central, Hack?
Just that to go back one segment. That's why Oakland won't be a winner because Blackburn probably will. I don't know about on Atlanta, but instead of acquiring talent, Oakland will be supplying one of these teams a piece to go to the next level. And I'm sure Atlanta fans would love to make that trade. He would look really good for Atlanta.
Yeah, they'll trade a washing machine and a utensil to be named at a later date. Oakland will take it. Good to go. All right, we're gonna go ahead.
In that ballpark.
we're gonna keep it rolling. On next to the NL Central. Where a team that I was high on all season, all preseason, the Pittsburgh Pirates really kind of hanging in there, 11-5 on the season. Did end up taking the series from the Philadelphia Phillies. The Brewers still remaining hot, one of the hottest teams in baseball. We'll talk about them here in a little bit in more detail. Chicago, even without Justin Steele, a lot of their other pitchers stepping up. They were one of the most exciting offensive teams this last week. Cincinnati Reds. Hack, who is standing out for you in this division here? Everyone's kind of battling for that top spot right now. Everyone's kind of really in the thick of things. Who's really standing out for you?
It's Milwaukee. I don't think anybody in the preseason had them doing what they're doing. We thought they'd thrown up the white flag, traded away Corbin Burns. Devin Williams got hurt. Last week, my answer was the same last week, and I don't know if they stay at the lead. At some point, I'm going to have to pick a different team just because it won't be a shock anymore. It's just this is the way the NL Central's going to be. But I'll just highlight one player because I know you're going to talk about them later. Freddie Peralta, 2 wins, a 2.55 ERA, and 26 Ks. I said it last week. He is an ace for them this year, and it looks like maybe when they traded Corbin Burns, they knew how to save some money and go forward with the next ace.
Yeah, and Cincinnati, Stephen Chambers over here mentioned, this race is going to be tight. Cincinnati, they did have a rough series against the Brewers, losing 2 out of 3, but luckily they got to place the White Sox the last 3 games, pulling off the sweep, kind of getting their rhythm back into things, or mojo. Ellie De La Cruz looking fantastic in that series as well. A tough series with the Mariners coming up. That'll be fun to watch. Cincinnati and Seattle coming up as well. The Cardinals, they kind of started out the season showing a little bit of life, looking like the Cardinals from a couple of years ago. But over the last week, they're kind of looking like the Cardinals from last year, kind of not able to close out games. Their pitchers aren't really able to go deep into the ball games. Are we buying or are we selling the Cardinals right now? They're right below 500, but are we thinking they're going to improve from this, or do you think this is kind of where they're going to be sitting?
I'm selling. I think they're an old team, and this is the perils of holding your players too long, trying to build around a couple of young players that got hurt or underperformed and are now on other teams. So if I'm St. Louis, the best thing I think they can do is trade some of their, at this point, old players and get the best deal possible before they enter the stage of their careers where you end up giving them away for cap relief.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's what I see. When I see them, it looks like the Cardinals are like playing like 75% of the way into the season. That's kind of, they look kind of tired on season. They look kind of like lackluster. I'm not seeing a lot of extra effort. Again, I am on the West Coast. I don't get to see a lot of Cardinals. I try to watch them when I can, being a fan from the Mark McGwire days, but Sammy Sosa, McGwire, the Cubs, and the Cardinals. I used to love watching those two teams face off. So I still kind of have those feelings to watch those teams when they're on. So if I'm wrong, let me know. But are you guys seeing the same things? I mean, the Cardinals kind of showing their age already this season, even though we're only 2 weeks in. And Steven, you're right. That's a team I actually want to talk about as well, is the Cubs. I mean, they're right now 5-1 at home, only 3-5 on the road. They will turn that around. They're doing this without Justin Steele. Huge fan of Chicago right now. I think they're going to make a great push in this division, especially when he comes back. This rotation, especially with Shota Imanaga looking lights out. I think this may be the team to beat if Pittsburgh at all cools down. Hack, anything to say about the Central Division before we bounce over to the NL West to wrap the segment up?
I think they're off to a hot start. I also think that we had this division predicted as one of the weaker ones, and actually the weakest one in the NL. So we'll see if these teams can continue. I don't want to be a hater, but there's a reason why in the preseason they were ranked the way they were. So we'll see if these hot starts can continue as the weather warms up and they get to the heart and the meat of their schedules.
Absolutely, you're right about that. And I'm excited to see which one of these teams will make that mid-season move that's necessary to kind of put them over the top, because there's 4 teams in this division I see that can win this division. So I think every one of these teams are one move away from kind of really taking that next step. So it's gonna be fun to watch as we get closer to the deadline. But we're going to bounce over to the NL West as we wrap up the updated standings from this week. Obviously, the Padres and the Dodgers are playing right now. They're a rain delay. Did have a late start because of a rain delay. And fun fact, the Dodgers have not had a rain delay in LA in 25 years. Did you know that? 25 years since the last Dodgers rain out.
That's impressive.
Right? I mean, that's LA for you, man. Perfect baseball town.
Yeah, that's.
But when you look at the standings here, I mean, anything kind of stand out to you? I mean, anything really jump out?
I thought San Francisco would have a little bit better of a start. I thought their pitching staff was going to be better, especially with acquiring Snell. We're going to talk about that later, but I just thought that they were going. I thought they had a good week 1. And that was going to translate better coming into this week, and it didn't.
Yeah, I mean, Yeah, you're right. I mean, I think the one thing that stands out to me is like everyone's kind of beating each other up, and the Dodgers just keep winning series after series and pulling away a little bit more every time. I mean, when the Dodgers, or not the Dodgers, sorry, the Padres and the Giants played, they ended up splitting the series. I think 2-1. They played another series and it was reversed 2-1 as well. The Rockies beating Arizona. I mean, these teams are beating up on each other and letting the Dodgers kind of pull away. But I tell you one thing, man, this Dodgers Padres series has been a really fun to watch. It's 0-0 right now in the top of the third for those who are curious. But they've been really fun to watch this series. Have you had a chance to check out the games at all this weekend?
I've watched a couple of the Dodgers Padres. That's always a fun series. That's a lot of stars. And I watched some of the Phillies Pirates. That's a local game watch. Not so much
Oh, dude, that
fun,
was great.
but the Pirates that's a team that I'm very intrigued. Right now, they're playing competent baseball. They're hitting throughout the lineup. So some of these teams are surprisingly complete, more
No, you're
complete
right.
than the off season we thought.
No, I would say so, especially the Pirates. That's a team that I kind of picked them to be this year's Diamondbacks. Kind of jumped on their coattails early, and I've been graced with them to actually have a successful start to the season. Even with O'Neal Cruz not really fully, I would say even at 100% as far as getting back into game speed. I think he's still like 75-80%. We haven't even seen what he can unleash yet, and he's able to kind of put his team on his back and kind of lead them to victories night after night. But we're going to kind of jump into a segment that we like to talk about called the seventh inning stretch. We're going to throw this up on the board for us. This is where we kind of talk about some news, trades, injuries, and just kind of general baseball stuff. We'll probably get off on a tirade or two. But this is, like I said, seventh inning stretch brought to you by nobody, as always. But again, that could be brought to you by you. You just let me know, and I got you. But we're going to jump first off into injury updates. A couple different things. We talked about Trevor Story last week, injuring his shoulder in the game against the Angels. And ultimately ended up, he fractured his shoulder, out for the season. Trevor's absolutely devastated. I saw him in a couple in the press coverage. He's devastated to be out for the season. Hack, how are you feeling about, obviously we thought he'd be out for maybe a month or two, but now that it's official, he's out for the season. How big of a blow is that to the Red Sox? Or are we not really too worried about it yet?
Well, I think when he went down, if the people in that organization were being honest, they would say they knew he was going out for the season. I liked Trevor Story in Colorado, but since he's left that good confines for him, he's been Mr. Glass. He hasn't played. He's always hurt. If anything, it helps Boston. You went out, you acquired Vaughn Grissom. You have some young guys to play second or move them to short if you don't like what you're seeing from Grissom there. Let the young guys go. Trevor Story wasn't going to be the reason you competed with the Yankees and the Orioles for the division. So it might be a step back this year to take 2 steps forward next year.
Okay. Hey, I absolutely respect that opinion. And you're right. The Red Sox are kind of showing us, they started off the season a little and it was pretty hot, but now they're kind of cooling off a little bit and showing us more who they are. And you're right. I don't think Trevor Story really makes a difference one way or the other. Obviously, the fans like him locally. He's great with the fans, great with interactions and signing, before and after games. He's great like that. So the fans love him. So hopefully he recovers and we see him back on the field soon. But next up after that, we got Bobby Miller on the 15-day IL with elbow inflammation. We've been seeing a lot of this lately, a lot of elbows, a lot of shoulders, a lot of stuff, which I'm sure you and I really want to get into discussion about. I'm sure we will hit that topic soon. But Bobby Miller out. Like I said, he's been up and down so far this season. He got a 5.5 ERA. Obviously, the first start of the season was absolutely out of this world, having 10 strikeouts. Last outing not doing so great against against the Cubs. He had 5 earned runs in 1.2 innings. Is that huge? Is that a huge blow to the Dodgers starting pitching rotation, or are we not really too worried about that one either?
That is a rotation. They don't have many young pitchers. 1, 2, their pitching staff is littered with former injury-riddled pitchers. So at any time, and he was one that you weren't worried about. This is more an LA Dodger thing now. I feel like every year we hear about one or two young Dodger pitchers on the IL and or blowing out their shoulders. So it's that's an organizational one more than some of these other pitchers and some of the other theories that I have on shoulders and elbows.
Okay. Well, we're gonna save those theories for another episode because trust me, I want to get into that. I want to get into the mind of Hack and find out where you're coming from. But we're gonna, like I said, I think Bobby Miller. That's a huge loss for the Dodgers starting rotation, just like you said. Especially without a clear timetable for Kershaw coming back. I think that was a nice young arm that could eat up some innings. Strong start to the season, not so great the last two times out. Hopefully he comes back and he's maybe able to get that that pop back into the mitt that he had game one. But Spencer Strider officially out for the season, had surgery on Friday. Are we surprised by this? Like I said, I feel like they kind of downplayed it at first, but you were kind of saying last week that you felt like they were downplaying it. So was this really a surprise to you?
No. And I think it's good that they just came out and announced it because you can move on. Not move on from Spencer Strider, player. You wish you would keep fans aware and abreast of his recovery. But now for your front office and the team, you need to fill this hole going forward. So it's sad, but I think they made the right decision. And if it gets them into the free agent market quicker and the number one free agent, whereas maybe Garrett Cole, they're playing a little closer to the vest instead of just picking one way or the other. You've beaten other teams like that to the punch. So it's sad, but good for them.
Yeah, I think that the loss of Spencer Strider, I think it's also a big loss in the locker room. I'm sensing now, since he's had this surgery, the Braves are only 3-3 over the last 6 games. Getting pummeled by the Mets a couple days ago. It was 16-4. I'm hoping that this is just like a rough patch. Obviously, teams go through these throughout the season. I'm hoping that this kind of a rough patch for him, and this isn't like an ego killer or a rally killer in the clubhouse or anything. So hopefully, like I said, Spencer Strider, hopefully the best. Hopefully he comes back healthy next season. But last but not least, as far as injury updates, we got Justin Verlander making his second rehab start. Earlier this week, he made a start on Monday, made a second start yesterday. He could make his return as soon as this Friday. How do we think that he should be coming back this soon? And just for some background for you, Hack. Against last Monday, he gave up five earned runs on yesterday, 6 earned runs last Sunday. Sorry, that wasn't Monday. He pitched Sunday. Give 11 earned runs over 8 innings in a minor league start. He said that it wasn't about keeping the runs down. It was about just throwing the pitches and making sure that he could do that. Do you believe that? Do you think he should make another rehab start? Do you think he's good to come back? Do you think it's too early?
I think whatever Justin Verlander says is the truth. There's not every athlete deserves that respect or to defer to their judgment. Most athletes, I think you should defer to a doctor's judgment on things because one of the reasons you became a pro athlete is your drive and your determination, right? But Justin Verlander is a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's one of the greatest pitchers modern day to ever pitch. So if he doesn't want to be embarrassed on that mound. If he knows he's ready to go, it's not. I fully believe what he said. It's not about my ERA in the minors. It's about me throwing the ball, knowing I can do what I need to do on the mound. And I'm going to be brutally honest. Justin Verlander at 60% is better than what the Astros are throwing out there on the mound for their 5th starter. So you might as well, if he wants to come back, let him come back and hope that changes up the mojo because right now the mojo in Houston isn't what it has been. And Verlander wins.
Damn, Hack, shots fired as the Astros starting pitchers. Verlander at 60% is better than who they have now. Short of Blanco, I mean, I think you're right. I think short of that, I think you're absolutely right. He's got to come back. They need that boost. They need that. The fans need that momentum builder for the team.
Well, because you said shots fired, but that's not shots fired. They have some very competent pitchers, but you started a guy last week that didn't get out of the first inning against the Kansas City Royals. And no, I'm going to talk about the Royals later on, but that's not a team in the world with World Series aspirations is supposed to be getting rolled up by in the first inning. And when Valdez went down, you went to the minors and called up somebody to start. So that's not disrespect or shots fired to these guys. If you're going to replace Valdez with the minor leaguer of the week, Justin Verlander, on arguably his worst day, is better than most minor leaguer of the week, what you're going to get out of that kid unless he makes a miracle, gets a Sports Center moment that week.
Okay. No, hey, I absolutely respect where you're coming from. They said Verlander is, you're right, a first ballot Hall of Famer. I just worry if at 41 years old, maybe that wall, maybe he's hit it. Like I said, he could make his comeback start as soon as Friday against the Nationals, which we all know how pitchers do this, have done this season in the first start back against the Nationals, which is a perfect segue to our next section, which is just some basic around the horn baseball news. And the reason why I say this Nationals news is we're going to talk a little bit about my man Blake Snell, pitcher for the San Francisco Giants, made his second start for the Giants this weekend. He has so far started this season 0-2 with an ERA of 12.86. I was really hyped about Blake Snell coming in. Giants fans were hyped about Blake Snell coming in. Hack, what is your reaction as an outside fan, just a fan of baseball? What's your reaction? Because I have a reaction, but what's your reaction to Blake Snell starting off the season a bit slow?
I would answer your question in the worst way with a question. What were your expectations as a Giants fan for Blake Snell?
Honestly, I'm glad you asked that because here's this. I was a pitcher. I know what the, even in high school, we were doing prep work from winter. We did not play basketball or nothing. We started prepping in the wintertime through all the way until spring. He didn't do that. He was coaching his kids' baseball team, which, hey, absolutely totally cool family man, do that. But he didn't have that spring training. So I already told myself, all right, he's going to have 3 or 4 if he starts. All right, so he's going to start off slow, and then he's going to kind of kick it into gear and be the Blake Snell we all know and love. And he's going to start probably off 0-3 with a no decision in there. Probably not the most innings, pitched, by that 5th start. But then I think, by end of May, he's going to be Blake Snell that we know and love. And the Giants are going to be kind of rolling hot and kind of winning games, winning series back to back. But I'm realistic. Fans, though, aren't always realistic. So I'm seeing a lot of, what a waste of money, what a waste of talent. No wonder he didn't sign. Guys, calm down, all right? It's just spring training. Or for him, this is like spring training. He hasn't pitched a live game since September 25th against the Giants, where he pitched 6 innings of spectacular baseball, and the Giants ended up winning 2-1 in that game. But like I said, he hasn't pitched a live game against competition like this since September 25th, and he didn't have those spring training games, so I'm not worried. But Hack, what are you thinking from an outside perspective? What do you see?
So, that's why I asked that question. It's his spring training. He signed late. Gene in the chat said he hasn't had a spring training, just like you, just like I'm going to expand on. He's coming in off of a warehouse simulated baseball situation made by Scott Boras. Like, you can have all the money, but you can't simulate major league talent. And to your point of, yes, he's in spring training, but he's spring training against players that are playing Major League Baseball. So that's of course, it's going to look bad. Sometimes it's going to look ugly in the beginning, but you didn't sign Blake Snell in the situation that you signed him so late for starts number 1 through 5. You signed him from starts number 6 through hopefully 30, 32, leading into the playoffs, and just patience. But I understand it's hard, but for our fan bases. But that's why baseball is a long sport, or it takes a while. 162 games. We'll come back at the All-Star break if he's still this guy, but I don't think he will be.
Yeah, I feel like yes, he's a high profile player. You want to get him. I feel like I really wish the Giants would have kind of put him in for a minor league start before starting him against the Nationals on Monday of this last week. Like I said, I just wish they would have put him for one like rehab start just to kind of get him up to speed with lesser talented hitters, get his confidence up. Because that first inning, he started off his first hitter 3 balls, no strikes, and I was worried. Then he ended up coming back and striking him out, and I was like, yes, that's Blake Snell. Let's go, baby. Turned off the TV, came back 20 minutes later, and it's like 3-0 Nationals. And I was like, what the hell happened? So like I said, he's leaving his pitches up a little bit. He's not snapping off his breaking stuff. He'll get there. But that's kind of all I have to say about Blake Snell right now. I wish they would have given him a rehab, quote-unquote rehab start. But I'm glad that he's part of the Giants franchise. I think he's going to be great in this season. I think he's going to I think he's going to have more wins than losses. I think his ERA is going to get back down to under 4, hopefully. So high hopes for Blake Snell. Sure.
Because I just want to ask one thing about that. You say you wish he would have had rehab starts.
Yes.
He is he's a Cy Young winner.
Right.
So he could in theory, go down to those minor league starts and make mistakes that he would get away with, that he's not getting away with at this level. So, to me, if you're going to get used to pitching, it stinks for it stinks for the fans that have to endure those couple losses. But those losses were coming anyway if he was leaving the ball up, and he comes from the minors still leaving the ball up because those kids can't hit Blake Snell no matter what he throws. And now it's May, and he's not good. He's not bad, but he's not the Blake Snell you're expecting. Let him get back to his feet here for 2 starts. If in start 5 it's still ugly, that's when I start to be like, okay, maybe he should have taken the slow roll approach.
Yeah, no, you are right. I guess we do want to make mistakes against the world's best hitters instead of the world's 5th and 6th best hitters. We want to see where those mistakes are. We want them to kind of hit him hard so that he can get up to speed faster. I get exactly what you're saying. I just want my Blake Snell to be confident going into this season, and I don't think he's confident right now, giving up 7 earned runs in 4 innings pitched today. He did not look like a confident pitcher on the mound after the first inning. I'm a little concerned. I think that this may have been I think we may have handled getting him onto the field incorrectly. But that's from a fan's perspective. Put your opinions in the chat if I'm wrong. But in good news, Jackson Holliday was officially brought up to the majors for the Orioles this week. Since he was brought up, he officially got his first hit. Started off 1 for 15 with 9 strikeouts. Do you think that's just kind of like first week nerves? Obviously, we saw what he was capable of in spring training. Do you think this is kind of like a welcome to the big leagues type moment for him, and do you think he'll snap out of it, or should we be a little concerned that he's having trouble adjusting to the pitching?
No, I don't think. I think, again, patience. There is men that get called up from the minor leagues after being seasoned minor league baseball players that struggle because at the end of the day, the jump between AAA and the majors is huge. That's why we see I don't want to say 1,000, but we see hundreds of players through our lifetimes that were 5-tool. I mean, I'll name one off the top of my head that always sticks with me. Petey will know. Joe Adell, 5-tool player, was supposed to be a can't-miss athlete, can't get on the field for the LA Angels because he couldn't translate from AAA to the majors. So give him time. He's 1 for 15. They have the lineup where he can learn to grow. Maybe he's not the automatic 6-hole hitter that the Orioles thought that he was going to be, but he's definitely a major league hitter that just needs some maturing.
No, you're right. I mean, I said the fans absolutely loved him. The holiday impact as far as viewers was absolutely insane. MLB.com reported an increase of 425,000 viewers for his opening game as a Baltimore Oriole, and that does not include in-market viewing. That's all out-of-market viewing. So extra 425,000 people tuned in to watch him make his debut. So huge for baseball. I know I tuned in. I tuned in all week. I was glad to see him get his first hit earlier on in the weekend. So like I said, I think it's great for baseball. I think the young nucleus of Baltimore, I think, is great for baseball. It's good to see the Orioles, successful and winning again. They've been, bottom dwellers for so long, and see them successful, kind of like when the Rays, they went from bottom of the cellar to World Series contenders in seemed like in a matter of 2 years. And that was fun to watch. I think the Orioles are that team, and I think that they're built to last a little longer than the Rays' tenure of success did. So good for him. I'm glad that he's up in the majors. It's good for baseball. A little bit of some lighter news as well is Mr. Andrew McCutchen hit his 300th home run this weekend in Philadelphia against the Phillies. Congratulations to him. He didn't do it in Pittsburgh, but Hack, I think you could agree with me as Andrew McCutchen did play with the Phillies and the Giants in his tenure between his time with the Pirates. I think if he could have done this moment anywhere, I think it would have been San Francisco and Philadelphia would have been his two top choices, other than Pittsburgh, to do this, just because of the way the fans embraced him and the way that we loved him on our team. Would you agree?
Yes, I'm very happy for McCutchen, and he was a fan favorite here. So
absolutely,
nothing but love for that guy. I don't have nothing bad to say about him. Heck of a ball player. Congratulations.
Yeah, it was great to see. Actually, at the end of the show, when we end with our baseball highlights and home runs from the week, he's actually going to be the last clip is going to be his 300th home run in Philadelphia, and the fans really did give him a great ovation. So hats off to the Philadelphia Phillies fan bases for that. If you say anything about Philadelphia fans, is they know sports and they know when moments are big, and they take time to embrace those moments. So hats off to Phillies fans. I know you guys get a lot of heckling from outside the city fans about how you guys treat athletes, but you guys are true sports fans, if I have to say so myself. But last but not least, on this slide right here, we got the Shohei Ohtani and Ippei kind of coming to a close. It turns out that the Ippei lost over $40 million in gambling debt. He was actually siphoning money from Ohtani's account and went as far as to turn off notifications about bank transfers and so on and so forth. Hack, do we think, and the FBI has completely cleared Ohtani, said that he's been completely cooperative and he has had no part in this. He's not being investigated at all. Do we think that this kind of closes the book on the whole Shohei and gambling situation, or do you think we still have some questions to be answered?
So I told in the beginning, I was give them maximum sentencing. I've done the research. I've looked at things. They've gone through years of text messages. It seems like they know how the interpreter did it. There's text messages showing him lying to multiple people. So it seems almost undeniable that Ohtani. I watched an interview where the investigator that explained it said, is he bad with his money? Yes. Did he trust the wrong people? Yeah. Could you say he's financially dumb? Yes. But he's not a criminal and he didn't bet on baseball. So to those points, like, A lot of baseball players, a lot of athletes in general have friends that take their money. He's just added to the list to a lot more than a lot of those people get taken for. But it's unfortunate, but it's a common story now in sports. And it's not the gotcha moment that some people thought it was going to be.
Yeah, I was hoping for a little bit more drama with it, but it kind of was honestly quick and to the point. I think the investigation, the only thing that kind of concerned me is either like one, how long have they been investigating this, before we found out, and two, if they did just start investigating it, they found everything so fast. It just seemed like it's almost like I know this isn't a movie, so it almost seems too clean, if that makes sense. Like it almost seems like perfectly wrapped. It seems like it's there's no questions to be had. Everything's been answered. So I'm curious to see if anything else will pop up in the near future. But hey, as far as I'm concerned, Ohtani's been cleared. I'm good with it. So I think we can move on. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I'm cool with that. Unless something else comes out, I'm done talking about it, and I'm with you on that. Show's almost over. We got one last segment to go over with you guys, and that is going to be Hack and I Black's players and team of the week. We're going to Hack, as always. We're going to get you to start off first. Who is your offensive player of the week this week?
My offensive player is Jordan Alvarez. He had a 423 batting average, 11 hits, 2 home runs, and 9 RBIs this week. I think Houston is starting to heat up a little bit. And I think when we do this show next week, they won't be in the cellar anymore. And big reason will be his hot bat. He's one of the hottest hitters in baseball right now. And if the team heats up around him, Houston's going to have much better luck this week.
Okay. All right. Well, hats off to Jordan Alvarez. I'm going to list off a player that you probably may not have heard of. Yes, he's on the Baltimore Orioles. His last name's not Rushman, Santander, or Holiday. But my man, Colton Cowser, had an amazing week this week, going 9 for 20, 3 home runs, 11 RBIs, and 4 doubles. And yes, does that sound like a pretty damn good week? It does to me, but here's the thing. The 12 previous games of the season, he had no home runs and 1 RBI. Absolutely hot streak this week for him, really leading the Orioles in their hot offense this week. So hats off to Colton Cowser. Keep it up, man. My eyes are on you now. So hey, hopefully you'll be getting this award again later on in the season. But we'll keep this train moving. Hack, who's your pitcher of the week this week?
Pitcher of the week this week is Nick Lodolo from the Cincinnati Reds. He returned from surgery. He threw 5.2 innings. He only gave up 1 hit, 1 walk, no earned runs. The Reds are a lot of people, including my trendy picks, to win the NL Central. And him coming back and looking like the Nick Lodolo that people, the Cy Young projected award winner, because he had a lot of hype, if you remember him, before he got injured. And this start, if he can just come back to 80% of that, the Reds have good things going down there.
Yeah, man. Like I said, that was a great performance. Said just over 5 innings, 10 strikeouts. I mean, he completely dominated that game. It was good to see him back and already showing mid-season form so quickly into the season. For me, and I've already talked about him this episode and this season. I'm pretty sure we'll be talking about him a lot. Is Shota Imanaga, 9.1 innings pitched this week, only 1 unearned run allowed. He pitched 4 scoreless innings against the Yankees earlier in the week. He did have to, unfortunately, get pulled after 4 innings due to a weather delay, but he was absolutely running through the lineup. Only gave up 3 hits, I believe, in the first 4 innings. And then, of course, he pitched 5 1/3 against Seattle. 7 strikeouts yesterday, 5.1 inning pitch for Seattle. Like I said, 1 unearned run in the 9 innings pitched this week. 3 scoreless starts. I mean, I think he may be, dare I say, rookie of the year? Maybe? Is it? Nah, we'll do Cy Young. We'll do it all. He's going to win everything. He's going to win Cy Young. He's going to rookie of the year. He's going to win the World Series by himself. That's how high I am on Imanaga right now. Who's your team of the week, though, Hack? Because I'm going crazy right now.
I'm going to go with Kansas City. They've roared into first place in the NL Central this week. Nobody was expecting this out of them. Bobby Witt is batting .339, leading their team in hitting and just leading their team. Also, leading their team is Salvador Perez with 4 home runs and 15 RBIs. The Royals are playing good baseball. Their pitching staff is unheralded. It's nobody that you would really want to be your ace, but Seth Lugo has 2 wins and a 1.45 ERA. Brady Singer, 1 win and a .98 ERA. And Cole Reagan has 21 Ks and a 2.6 ERA. The Royals are starting to win games. Looks like they're having fun doing it if you're watching their games. They really had fun at the Astros' expense this week. So, Kansas City Royals are my team of the week.
Yeah, they definitely did storm to the top of the AL Central this week. So far with the longest winning streak of this early season. I'm going to go ahead and pick a National League Central team and go ahead with the Milwaukee Brewers. This week they went 5-1 on the week, 4-1 on the road, taking 2 out of 3 from Seattle, Cincinnati, and the Orioles. 3 very tough teams, especially Baltimore, as they're one of the hottest offensive teams in the league right now. They're really doing it behind solid starting pitching. Team ERA of 3.65, and they're scoring about 6 to 7 runs a game right now. So the Milwaukee Brewers are my team of the week. So they are tied for first place in the NL Central with a great battle with Pittsburgh Pirates. So it's going to be great to see kind of where they're at next week if they're able to kind of continue with that hot start. But that's kind of who we have right now. Hack, before we kind of get the people some highlights and get them off of the show for the week, what do we feel? Is there anything you kind of want to bring up before we take off for the week, or do we kind of talk about it all?
I'm just, we're doing the show, we're talking, having a good time, and the alert pops up. The Dodgers take a 3-1 lead. Max Muncy with a 3-run home run. And it just goes to show, the Dodgers offense and this Dodgers team as a whole, you can be looking so good against them. And in one inning, a couple hits, and then one of their bigger batters just make contact and mash, and there goes, everything was all cruise control for Darvish, and now he's about to get pulled. So it's good. Before we go off air, Dodgers put a little fireworks to the show.
No, you're right, man. It was a great game. I was checking in. It was 1-1 after the Machado home run, and I was looking to go tune in over on ESPN in case any of you guys are wondering. 3-1, Dodgers are leading. That honestly, Hector, that offense is scary because the bottom half hasn't even really gotten going yet. They're still kind of figuring out the bottom of the order, who's going to go where. They're looking for someone to kind of step up. So once someone in that bottom of the rotation or bottom of the order steps up, like Outman or Lux or Hernandez can stay hot, Teoscar Hernandez can stay hot, then this team is going to be scary. Especially as the season goes on.
That's to me, that's the icing on the cake. Because Glasnow's looked real good, and if he stays healthy, Yamamoto, he learns the game and stays healthy. That's 2 of your 3 postseason starters right there. And Will Smith has been playing out of his mind, and that was not expected. People knew he was nice offensively, but he's looking like the 4th member. You can't just say the top 3 and then forget about everybody else. Will Smith saying, no, there's top 4. And Max Muncy is actually making contact with the ball at a much higher rate than before. And Max Muncy has legit power. It's just been an issue with him making contact with off speed, everything pretty much but the fastball down the middle. So if he keeps his contact rate where it's been with his power, now the Dodgers are 5 deep in that lineup. And you mentioned Teoscar Hernandez, who last week I had as player of the week, batting 6. You only really have 3. You have an inning of hopes, but their hopes aren't some of these teams' hopes. You're hoping with Outman and very high pedigree players. Or Chris Taylor, like a World Series champion who has been there and is a professional he's a professional baseball player. Not the flashiest name, but like an Adam Duvall type. You know what I mean? You don't really be like, yeah, I have Adam Duvall, but when you have Adam Duvall, you realize how valuable Adam Duvall can be.
No, absolutely. And you know what? That's a great point to end the show on. And, you know, like I said, the Dodgers, Padres, they are playing right now the last game of the week. We're going to wrap up this show with some highlights, home runs, walk-offs from the week. We hope everybody has a fantastic week of baseball. Come back next week. If you have any questions or anything, go ahead and put them in the chat. We'll answer anything next week. Expect us to do our because there was such a bad ranking came out for the five biggest rivalries in baseball. Next week, we're going to release our list of 5 best rivalries in baseball, which I think will be much more accurate than the people who get paid to do this. So I hope you guys have a great rest of your evening. And we'll just remember, when life throws you up and in, put on some eye black and take a hack. And we'll see y'all next week. Have a great weekend.
You all.
Something cool? No. Well, I'm gonna do it anyway.
Yo, you need to wake up.
Patrick hit in the air to center field. Sawinski's going back. That's awesome.
You need to wake up and get to work. Get to work.
Yeah.
The track speed.
Yeah.
De La Cruz in the air. Deep right center. Gone. The longest in Major League Baseball this year.
Body move fast in the fast lane. Premium gasoline in the gas tank. Still true, still in the damn thing. I can get no fucks with a hate thing. I breeze down the I-5 with my shades on. Walk away what they say from the iPhone. Hey, the sound is kinda like a groove. Paid attention, then expect to really fly. I get it, I got it, I get it. I be the one really spit. Now you must be really kidding. Goddamn it, where is the spirit? Goddamn it, where's the pride? I be like, when I show up in the artist out in the house. That got me on another level. All the way down on the back. I can't settle. Y'all rap so man.
To left and deep. Marsh to the wall. There it is. 300 home runs for Andrew McCutchen.
Get to work.
A milestone here in Pennsylvania.
Get to work.
Catch myself moving fast in that fast lane. I ain't got time to think.